BBQ Central.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening and welcome to the Really Big BBQ Central Show. This is a show where we talk about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling, originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital and social distancing capital of the North Coast. Let me try that again. The barbecue and social distancing capital of the North Coast. Greg Rempe. Cleveland, Ohio. Fucking A. I should just start right over from the beginning. Oh, forget it. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you here on your Tuesday. If you want to jump in on the show tonight, here's how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Email Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. On the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show. Anything
else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter. By the way, if you want to sign up for that, you can head over to the main website. And towards the top right-ish, there's a thing that says sign up for the newsletter. So drop an email in, and you'll get one that shows up right around noon Eastern time, letting you know what's happening on the show later that evening. Coming up in about 12 minutes from now, a recurring guest here on this show, a successful business lady, also into cooking classes, a author, makes TV show appearances, the whole gamut. It is a hardcore carnivore, Jess Pryles, making her return to the show. 35 past the hour. We'll find fourth Tuesday of the month, a regular segment guest, Derek Riches from DerekRiches.com, our Bristly barbecue journalist, and we will talk to him about a number of topics, not the least of which is a further insight on that Masterbuilt gravity-fed cooker. However, plenty of other things to get into, like this beef and meat and protein meat in general shortage that could be showing up here in this country by the end of the business week. If you haven't seen that all over the news, where are you getting your news at? Just troll the internet. It's all around. Plenty of reports talking about it. Tyson was the most recent big name that I've heard and seen on the television, talking about their supply chain being disrupted and that there are hundreds of millions of pounds that will be shorted by the end of the week. What are your thoughts on that? We'll talk to Derek about that topic, amongst other things, and then we'll move to the second hour. And because it is the fourth Tuesday of the month, you know what that means? The embedded correspondents, a.k.a. the malfeasance of the barbecue community, the ne'er-do-wells of live fire, will be joining me, and we'll be talking about a number of topics. And then in the second portion of the embedded correspondent segment, month 2 of the BBQ Central Show's version of American Idol. Man, these sound effects are not working. There we go. That's right, we're back for month 2. John Solberg was eliminated last month. So it's me and Doug Scheiding and Jeff Reiser for your singing pleasure, as the three of us are vying for the final 2 spots. And that final will take place in May, where there will be a pre-recorded duet like they do on those shows. And then we'll also sing live our own songs, not original songs, but we'll sing live on the show our own songs as well. So that's what you have to look forward to here on this show. Backyard Barbecue Show, already clawing his ears off in anxious anticipation of 3 songs coming out tonight. Now, I will say the saving grace, because I don't want to make everybody bleed through their ears in the second hour. I have put a time restriction of right around 2 minutes. So even though some folks sent me full-length songs, I did go ahead and edit down. I haven't heard the songs. I just found where I thought the music was going to be editable and ducked it right from there. So mine's right around 2. Doug's right around 2. Jeff Reiser a little longer, maybe around that 2:20 mark. So all around that same listening time frame, hoping that you can get a good survey of how good our singing is. And then I will beg of you that everybody has to vote over the course of the week, and the person will be eliminated a week from now. The least number of votes gotten, that singer will be eliminated. So there you go. Stay tuned for your second hour. 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Follow me socially at BBQ Central Show, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, /BBQ Central Show, Facebook, where you can also get a live version video of this show. First off, I need to correct something that I said last week, if you may, and maybe you don't recall. Ben Arnott from Smoking Hot Confessions was on last week to close the show. By the way, great segment, so if you missed it, go back and get it in podcast. However, during the conversation, he had mentioned that my to-be guest here in just a few short minutes, Jess Pryles, was a prized Australian export to here in the States, which I then informed him that Jess was now a U.S. citizen. Well, it appears there is some question in that regard. So where do you go when you want to find if you are or are not something? Where do you go? Well, of course, you submit all of your paperwork and DNA and blood and everything that conspiracy theorists don't want to ever do, and you ship that on off to Maury Povich and get the results. That's where you do these test shows, right? So we go to Maury Povich with the answer.
Andrew, you are not the father.
Oh, dear. Well, it appears, Maury, I've made a critical error. Look, all kidding aside, I recalled reading the fact in an article. Well, it's not a fact. I recall reading an article in the Houston Chronicle. They did a piece on Jess. And it said, and perhaps these are where the words get tricky, that she took the plunge and became a U.S. citizen. I guess I'm paraphrasing at this point. But the words plunge and U.S. citizen were written down on paper within the Houston Chronicle on a piece that they wrote on Jess Pryles. And even though the words made it appear like she became a citizen, I did a little fact check. Now, you might ask yourself, who did you fact check with? Well, in fact, I did fact check with Jess Pryles herself, who told me as much, that she indeed was not,
Andrew, you are not
an American citizen. She's not naturalized. She's not a U.S. citizen, naturalized, as they say. Now, there is a date that is specific to today that we will talk about when she comes on here in a few minutes. But I do want to set the record straight because I said something completely false, and I almost doubled down on it because Ben was like, oh, I didn't really hear about that. I thought about reconfirming or digging in, but I didn't bother. And thank goodness I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe I thought subconsciously that I was wrong already. I don't know. But I do want to apologize to Jess for saying that she was a U.S. citizen when she's actually not. This, of course, just another reason why I hate reading in general. Or perhaps, maybe I should be reading more so my reading comprehension becomes much better. So I understand how people write. Not my 5th grade reading comprehension. Also, I do want to mention this separate. I got a message from Emily Detweiler over at KCBS, and as they're getting ready to celebrate National Barbecue Month, which is May, coming up here in a few short days, they want to do it a little early. They want to celebrate a little early by offering a $100 discount on lifetime memberships. Individual lifetime memberships are typically $300 or are normally $400. So the discounts get you one for $300. Family memberships, two for $400, normally $500. The first 50 new annual members will get a copy of the KCBS Barbecue Society's cookbook. That's a $25 value. And these offers, of course, like everything else, are limited and won't last long. So visit the website kcbs.us and click on join/renew to get your discount early for National Barbecue Month, which is May, of course. It's our favorite month, aside from Brisket Month and Pork Butt Month and Rib Month, Live Fire Month. I think today is National Prime Rib Day, if I saw that somewhere. Every day has something. Tomorrow will be National Something Else Day that's not prime rib. Although prime rib could have 2 national days in a row, as far as I'm concerned. Jess Pryles coming up out of the break. I will talk to you quickly about Big Poppa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies. Will get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. 13 perfectly balanced rubs and seasonings. They're simply my favorite. Sweet Money, Regular Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, Double Secret, Steak Rub, Little Louie Seasoned Salt might be my all-time favorite. Little Louie's and Sweet Money pretty much can go on anything. Now, aside from the rubs and seasonings, they do have sauce. They own Granny's barbecue sauce. So if you're looking for something a little different than what's already existing out there, if you are a little bored with all the stuff that's on the shelf, it's not tripping your trigger, might I suggest trying Granny's. Great all by itself, no doubt, but also a really good base sauce if you want to start mixing it up. You don't want to spend time creating a base. Let Granny's be the base. You start to mess around from there. We're also selling the very best pellet, charcoal, and wood cookers available today. If you're looking for a cooker that's easy to use, the Mac 2-Star General Pellet Grill is something you want to check out. Big Poppa Smokers, the exclusive Mac dealer, even offer special packages. Not a fan of pellet smokers, that's fine. You can try the Old Hickory Ace BP, the only charcoal smoker that Big Poppa trusts on his competition trailer. If you're not sure of what grill you need, call them. Please, ask all the questions that you need to. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop their website, bigpoppasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. Jess Pryles, the hardcore carnivore herself, coming up. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Butcher Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, and seasonings, barbecue sauces, grilling oils, all of Butcher Barbecue products tested on the competition circuit as well as backyards worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood and visit butcherbbq.com to stock up now. Always trust your butcher. All right, my first guest tonight, successful author, blogger, brand ambassador, appears on TV from time to time. Of course, the founder of the successful live fire brand, Hardcore Carnivore. Let's go ahead and race to the hotline. And welcome back, friend of the show, Jess Pryles. Hey, Jess.
Howdy. How are you?
I am absolutely fabulous. How's your Corona life?
It's not bad because I get to stay at home and cook a bunch. I'm usually out on the road a fair bit, so this is a welcome change.
I was going to say, aside from the desperate amount of travel that you're typically doing, it's probably a lot of the same, right? Testing recipes, getting things written down, posted on the website, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's not a pleasant situation for anyone, but it's always nice to find a silver lining. And in this case, people are, I think, using recipes more than ever. I'm getting amazing like messages from people, oh, hey, I got your cookbook, or I tried your bacon recipe, or guess what, I followed your lamb recipe. It made my family really happy. And it's so nice to get that feedback. Usually, I guess we're so busy in our everyday lives, people just don't usually have time to send those sort of things. So that's really neat.
No doubt about it. Jess Pryles joining me here on the show, or hardcorecarnivore.com, jesspryles.com, also Jess Pryles on a number of the social media handles as well. We're going to talk about this really cool live YouTube cook-along that you have coming up this Saturday in just a bit. But today is special for the folks that follow you on your social media. This is your 5th-year immigration anniversary. And in your Facebook post earlier today, you said that the past 5 years have been the most productive of your life. So let me ask you this question. Do you think that if you would have stayed in Australia, would you then have achieved the same type of levels of success that you had having made the trek from Australia here to the States?
I don't think it would be quite on the same level. I mean, Australia it's called the lucky country, and there's always a great opportunity to make something of yourself there. And since I've left, there have been a couple of guys that have done pretty well for themselves as BBQ Guru there, but it's nowhere on the scale it is here. So as far as Australia being the lucky country, this is definitely all the American dream that I'm living right here. And I definitely think that I couldn't have done it without being here. So
perhaps a crappy follow-up question. Is there one or two American memories that really stick with you as you look past the 5 years? I mean, certainly there's a lot of things happening, but are there one or two things that rise above?
Yeah. I remember meeting like Chris Lilly for the first time at the American Royal, and it was the year that it was at the Speedway. And, I was just so honored to even meet him, even make his acquaintance. And now, I just talked to him this week because we're both, I guess stablemates at Kingsford now. So I get to call him, not just a friend, but a colleague, and to have had that, so little reminders like that about how far you've come when you started as a fangirl, and then it's like, oh yeah, it's Crisco, no big deal. I mean, of course he's still a big deal, but it's just got a little bit of a different vibe to it. But there's just, there's so many little things. Like, I tried to look through photos today when I wrote that post, like the photo of me signing a book contract, the first time the signature smoker rolled into my yard, and the deal with Lone Star, and just Hardcore Carnivore, to be able to be in so many people's houses right now and help them feed their families and feed themselves and just bring a little joy. Like, that there's no one thing, because it nearly all becomes a blur when you look back, but there's not a moment that I'm not grateful for it, but it's not luck, it's hard work.
You also referenced, and I quote, the ever-fluctuating accent. So let me ask you this. Has living in Texas made the Australian accent mostly evaporate, or have you worked on attaining more of a, I guess for lack of a better term, Western style of speaking?
A drawl.
No, not a drawl, but making the Australian accent go. For instance, I had Ben Arnott on the show last week. I mean, he lives in Australia. Yeah. He's got a very pronounced Australian accent. I've made Saffron Hodgson's acquaintance a few different times. Very large Australian accent. So the myopic American would say, oh, somebody's from Australia, they got to have a fairly heavy Australian accent. But you don't necessarily, I don't hear you talk and go, she must be from Australia.
I was on the phone with my mom minutes ago. That's why I said mom, not mom. And I'm nearly full Australian when I talk to her. And if you watch it on like lives or whatever, you'll see it's like still the number one thing that people are fascinated with commenting about. And it's just I've got a bipolar accent. That's just how it is. It started just as a need to be understood. Like, I understood like certain words that Americans would just not have any clue what I was saying. So I'd adjust it, instead of water.
Right.
And you start by those things that are going to be just easier for you to be understood that way. And then, I don't know, it just depends who I'm talking to, I think I've always had the official line on it is this. I've always had an ear for languages. Like, I can, I speak French with a pretty decent accent. I speak Spanish with a reasonable accent. And I think this is just an extension of that, wanting to be understood, hearing the voices around you and sounding it back.
So is it tough for you to make the hard R instead of the, more traditional Australian style R?
Yeah, and you know what the hardest is? I want to say like Hardcore Carnivore all the time.
Right.
It's like literally my business name I sometimes stumble through with Hardcore Carnivore. I feel like I'm eating my tongue sometimes.
Does it feel real to you?
Which part?
Like when you have to enunciate it a way that you're not necessarily comfortable saying it.
Yeah, because it's weird, because I see it as it is an American business, and I see it as like Hardcore Carnivore. And I see it as Hardcore Carnivore, mate.
Yeah.
Get that carnivore into you, as they would say in Australia.
Jess Pryles is joining me here on the show. HardcoreCarnivore.com. Easy for me to say, right? Let's talk about this cool thing.
Hire you.
I do voice work. I have quite an extensive setup here in the basement. Everything that's cool in Cleveland happens in a basement. Just ask anybody. So you have a really awesome thing going on this Saturday, and I don't want to speak for you, but I would say that perhaps a catalyst or catapult was a portion to something that you did this past weekend, which I think was on Facebook. It was a live, and you had, it seemed like a pretty steady 300, 350, maybe 400 live continuous viewers. And you said, you know what, I wonder, and you did like a poll right there in the audience, said, hey, how many people do you think would actually want to cook along with me? We're doing a chat here. You're kind of seeing what I'm doing. But what about a start to finish? Is that what really brought this to fruition?
Yeah, I'd actually already thought of it before I did that last live. That the live that you're talking about was just kind of I go in. This is another. You and I always end up talking about social media, but I feel like I go live on Instagram a lot and realized I hadn't done it on Facebook in a long time, and went live on Facebook just to see what the reaction would be, thinking like, if we get enough people and they seem engaged enough and not just leaving like rude troll comments, I think we should do a cook-along live. And basically the idea for it is it's going to happen this Saturday, and I've published a list I've published the dish, a list of ingredients on my website at jesspryles.com/cookwithme. And so you can go out and get those ingredients for yourself. And I made it very, very simple so that even with all of the, the limitations that we have here, I even put in some links for online meat suppliers. You buy the stuff, you tune in at 5 o'clock Central, and basically we cook together. And I've never done anything like this before. It's going to be pretty chill. It's a different format. It's on YouTube. So if you are listening and want to join, make sure you head to my website to check out all the information. And just gratuitously, I guess, I've also partnered with some amazing companies like PK Grills and ThermoWorks and this great brand out of Austin here called BBQ Wife that makes margaritas and Bloody Mary mix that uses smoked ingredients. And they've all offered exclusive discounts on all of their products if you visit that site, because that's what I'm going to be cooking on and drinking and all that kind of stuff. So the premise is this. It's free. If you don't have the money, if you don't want to spend the money, you can still tune in because it's free, and you can make it as interactive or non-interactive as you would like. But it's just, I'm just super excited to see how many folks we can get kind of cooking along.
What is your expectation? Certainly, you want to have a good production. You want to make sure that the internet is good and people are seeing and your agenda is being driven. But how are you able to gauge how successful this is going to be?
I mean, there's no set agenda just in that respect, but or there's no hidden agenda, rather. But I think it's interesting that you bring up production. Yes, I'll have good internet, but it's just going to be me on my cell phone. And, that's one of the hallmarks of it being free.
Yeah, right.
But the nice part about us all being in the same boat here is the same as watching, Jimmy Fallon from his living room or Saturday Night Live from their home, is that there's just this tremendous forgiveness for production value right now, which is, y'all know I'm stuck in my house as much as you are. And it's not about having the credits and the camera and the right lighting and a B-roll. It's just about honest cooking, and also in real time. Like, I think I publish a new video every week on Facebook, on YouTube, on IGTV, but they're all pre-done. Like they're all edited and, sharp little 3-minute packages. And this is live. This is just like being in class, where you're going to see the good and the bad, and you're going to see how I do things from go, not just, extremely edited. It'll be pretty relaxed. And I think that for a lot of people right now, we just want to feel connected to other people and know that other people are out there and know that they're going through the same thing and know that they're not on this super yacht. Like, I'm crossing my fingers it doesn't rain because I don't have a great rain cover out in my yard. And if it doesn't, well, hell, I'll be out in the rain just like y'all, it's just real.
Jess Pryles joining me here on the show, talking about the live cook-along that she's going to be doing this coming Saturday. So hit up her YouTube page. Make sure that you are getting all the reminders to subscribe while you're there, too, as well. As she mentioned, she's putting out videos once a week. What are you cooking this weekend, and what are we drinking this weekend?
We are drinking, I see my brain goes straight to drinking these days. We're cooking carne asada tacos, and the reason is because you can use cooked steak, so it's not like you have to get this type of steak. It's pretty open. It'll be nice and easy to cook, and I've given a recipe for what I call my jalapeno crack sauce for people to make in advance. So that's what we're cooking, and then I'm gonna eventually end up with a barbecue wife margarita because it's still like 85 degrees or 90 degrees, I think, on Saturday here in Texas, but. I'm starting with the new Lone Star have a brand new beer out called Rio Jade, but not that might be another BBQ Central exclusive because they haven't formally really announced it yet.
Hey, how about that? Thank you, ma'am. That's very nice of you.
You bet you got it. So it's a Mexican style lager, and then whatever anyone at home wants to drink, just raise it up to the camera. We'll cheers it, and we'll have a great time.
Now you're not going to take the drink and like tap it against the phone, right? Because that's like the lamest shit ever.
Oh, no, that's exactly what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to dedicate it to you.
Hell no. Oh, my God. I hate when people... Never mind. We'll talk about that off camera.
Are you going to be on there trolling me? Come on.
Yes, of course I'm going to be on there trolling you. Are you kidding me? It's my favorite part. When I see... There's like a very few select people that I see go live, I'm like, okay, I'm in, and how can I possibly troll in the nicest way possible? So I'll be there for sure. Yeah, and plus I love carne asada tacos. The girls love carne asada tacos. I don't drink anymore, so I'll be. Although I did get a box of some kind of what the hell is it called? Curious Elixir or some shit. So it's non-alcoholic, but it's supposed to be real highbrow mocktail kind of stuff. So all the stuff that might be a cocktail. Yeah. So we'll see how that. So maybe I'll drink one of those as you guys are enjoying your. Barbecue wife margaritas. All right, so this is 5 Central, correct? So that would be 6 Eastern.
Correct.
All right, so we'll look forward to that on Saturday. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about this evening is a couple weeks ago, you posted one of the schmancy videos about your thoughts on resting meat. A number of years ago, I had a second Tuesday of the month regular visit with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com, and he went and expounded on his reasons about not or resting meat. And I wanted to have you on since you did the video, and it's kind of sparked a resurgence of the topic, and get just some high-level thoughts on why you like to rest, if you're resting for a specific period of time, when you're resting something that is this thick or that thick, does it correspond with rest? And then we'll start digging into some more specifics from there. But what do you think about resting?
I mean, I'm very pro resting. From a meat science perspective, it allows time for the muscle fibers to basically re-separate after the trauma of heat being applied, which creates room in between the fibers, which allows the moisture to redistribute. It's not that it's returning on a cellular level; it's just redistributing. That's the theory behind how it works. The hallmark of modern Central Texas brisket is the rest. It's that extended, allowing the temperature to come down, and then that extended hold. That's what Mr. Franklin perfected. For a steak, particularly, I guess my signature dish is like a smoked tri-tip with the Hardcore black, because it smokes in about an hour. There is, I mean, I've served that dish to, 3,000 Australians of Beef Australia, where it's been held in a cooler for 4 hours because it just holds that well at a safe temperature. But there is a marked difference between the meat when it's rested and non-rested in terms of texture. And I notice it with steaks as well, tremendously. And it's enough to the point where it's not a fluke. It's my opinion as someone who has cooked a dang lot of meat in my lifetime. And I think that it changes the texture of the finished dish too. So I'm a huge fan of it. And I know that Meathead disagrees, and that he's published his opinions and also Dr. Blonder's findings on this. And I kind of referenced this when I posted the video because I've got a tremendous amount of respect for Meathead and what he does. And I was kind of waiting to be pilloried by his loyal followers, and I just sort of explained, that the experiments even that Dr. Blonder conducts are not really done in lab standard conditions. They're probably not done with a big enough sample to be considered a formal experiment. It's just a kind of educated opinion, I guess. So, and same with the stuff that I do on my videos. So, for example, what kind of scales is he using? Is he using a sample size that's big enough? Is the scale microscopic enough to measure the juices to that extent? And so it kind of just becomes like two professionals entitled to their differing opinions, because unless both of us are going to repeat an experiment under university lab conditions over and over to garner kind of irrefutable data, and even in that case, some university and formal findings can often be refuted by different tests and different experiments. Until that happens, it's just going to have to be a respectfully agree to disagree thing.
Well, I think here's what's important to note, and it's this. There is no, and from Meathead's admission 2 weeks ago as well, there is no definitive scientific study that has been done on resting meat yet. He attempted to commission Texas Tech at one point to the tune of $50,000. The science department or whoever would be in charge of that evidently didn't have enough graduate assistance or enough interest or both to put that to the test or experiment to produce some kind of scientific finding. So to Meathead's own admission, it's merely his opinion that resting a steak for only a few minutes is something that he would prefer versus taking the same kind of steak and resting it for 5 or 10, or let's say a defined period of time. So for instance, Jess, if you were cooking a steak that's 1.25 inches thick, do you then look at that and say, okay, because it is this and that, I'm going to rest for X period of time and I will do that every time? Or is it just from the grill to the table, collecting some sides, and whatever time has transpired is okay to you?
Yeah, I don't set a timer, and it's definitely proportionate to the cook time. So barbecue gets an extended kind of rest in a sort of heated cooler, so a makeshift hot box. But for steak, I just do that loose foil, and as you mentioned, just kind of get a few other bits and pieces together. But I know the longer that I'm patient, the better the result. So I try and push myself and slap my husband's hand away from sneaking bits of steak and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I'll tell you something interesting, and I forgot completely to mention this, but it's an interesting note regarding even when you do commission a study. So I had a really interesting exchange with the professor at K-State who was behind the Umai dry bag studies. Mm-hmm. Because that's one of their big things, these dry aging bags that they're like, but look, here's the university study. And I like to not take things on face value. And I reached out to him directly and just asked him a couple of questions. And he was a wonderful human being who was super kind to answer them. And one of the questions that I asked him, based on my experience, which wasn't with the Umai brand, was that the meat that I had in that bag smelled very much like domestic refrigerator. And I said, well, in your findings, when you found all this stuff, did you actually conduct your experiment in a domestic refrigerator that had other food in it, that was being used by other people, that was constantly being opened and closed, or did you do it in a large commercial refrigerator with an aggressive fan? What do you think the answer was?
The second one.
Right. So how would he possibly know from that finding what the impact of other fridge content is going to have on the flavor?
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
It's not going to be in that finding. So the more you know.
Just two quick questions before I let you go tonight, and I appreciate the time. Aside from anything barbecue related, what's your favorite podcast to listen to?
Mike Rowe.
Oh, yeah. I love Mike Rowe. Great voice, too, by the way.
He's got such a soothing voice.
I know.
He's like America's fun uncle.
He's the only guy that can turn dangerous, life-threatening fishing for crab into, like, really nice and soothing kind of stuff. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, what's the best Alice in Chains song with Lane Staley?
Oh, my God. Man in the Box. 100%.
Oh, so close. Of course, we do know it's Damn That River. I mean, of course, it's Damn That River.
No, you're so wrong right now. God.
Now, here's the harder question. Here's the harder question. Best Alice in Chains song without Lane Staley.
That's just a trick question, Rempy. There isn't one.
What? Come on. You're not going to give William a shot? You don't like Alice in Chains without Lane? No?
I've seen him live twice, and the reason I like him, with no disrespect to the man, because I've never actually met him, is that he sounds enough like Lane that I can go and see them in concert and be satisfied.
All right, well, mine is your decision. I think that's kind of a heart-wrenching song for some reason. You don't like that song?
Well, there you go. You know, it's like how you stopped listening to Metallica after Black Album. I stopped listening after Lane. Yeah.
Did you come back for Hardwired, though, or did you eject? Or did you never leave?
No, because I tried to get into Cantrell's solo album, and then I was like, what is this? And I got burned, man.
Yeah, I hear you. Look, forget about all this nonsense. Go and check out Jess Pryles on her websites, jesspryles.com and hardcorecarnivore.com. But most importantly, make sure you get over to YouTube on this coming Saturday, 5 Central, 6 Eastern, and cook along with Jess as we make some great carne asada tacos, have some great adult beverages like margaritas from Barbecue Wife and all the other good stuff. Jess, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate you.
You got it. There she is, Jess Pryles, right there. On this show, and we're just a little late, but I don't see Derek in the green room right now, so I guess we're okay at the moment. Derek, if you're watching, get in the green room. Use the link. Oh, wait. Do I not have my email up somewhere? Derek's very smart. I'm sure he'll be on here in just a second. All right, thanks again to Jess Pryles for coming on. Don't forget, Cook Along with Jess is coming Saturday. That's right. Maybe you have a barbecue guru. You can probably use that this coming Saturday. They've always believed that outdoor cooking should be easy and fun because it can be. They have a couple different cookers for you to choose from, a monolith and a shotgun cooker. And they have 2 new control devices now ready to ship to you, the DynaQ and the Ultra Q. That's right. Hey, there he is. All right. Derek Rich is in the green room. So if you want to have something that was more akin to the Party Q, which was like the easiest point of entry into automatic pit temperature control devices, the DynaQ is the one that you're going to want to check out. Now, if you want the one that's replacing that Cyber Q, the Ultra Q is the version that you're going to want to check out. Now, if you have a monolith grill that the BBQ Guru makes, that has a built-in power draft fan. So you just hook in whatever controller you get right to the fan and the monolith, and away you go. The shotgun cooker accommodates all the BBQ Guru temperature control devices as well. So you're all locked and loaded. If you have any questions, give them a call, 800-288-GURU. Or you can visit bbqguru.com. We're back with Derek Riches right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by CookinPellets.com. If you have a pellet-fired cooker, you're going to want to try CookinPellets.com. You don't like CookinPellets.com's website to buy off of Amazon.com. For crying out loud, why not? Hey, it's the fourth Tuesday of the month. You know what that means. We have to go to the affectionately referred to bristly barbecue journalist, Derek Riches from DerekRiches.com. Hey, Derek.
Hey, Greg.
How are
I
you?
guess the question is, can you hear me?
I'm good. I can hear you. That's the good news. Is the volume is good?
Yeah.
I don't want to immediately go into the weeds, but was it like a simple fix, or did you have to break everything down to get to the microphone?
I just had to go through and remove everything the computer thought was a microphone, and then put this one back in. So,
yeah.
You know,
well, plenty of microphones that weren't microphones, and the real microphone. Now we're all locked and loaded and ready to go. We're talking with Derek Riches from DerekRiches.com. All right, Derek, so let me ask you, since it was kind of the hot topic here over the last couple weeks, resting steak when it's done. Are you a fan of resting steak? And if so, are you doing it for a designated period of time, or is it just from when you get it to the grill, collect sides, and get everything to the table?
I don't set a timer. I do rest. I believe in resting. I think it's my experience is it improves the quality. So I do rest. But depending upon the thickness, if it's a steak over an inch, then I'm going to be more conscious of the amount of time. If it's under, it's an inch or under, then the time it takes me to get it in and get stuff set up is pretty much my resting time. So, but I rest meat.
All right. Derek, also, the last couple visits, we learned about that Masterbuilt Gravity Fed. We had talked a little bit more about it last month. Have you had any occasion to know a little bit more about it or hear anything further? I did have the owners on a couple weeks ago, and obviously they're very happy with the Masterbuilt Gravity Fed and the way it's operating. They also have a bigger version coming out here very soon. What do you know about it?
The 1050 is kind of sort of out.
All right.
Some people have been able to get it. It's been pretty spotty so far. You got to kind of watch for it, but that is kind of going out. That's kind of the one I've been looking for because I like the size on it. So I've been kind of holding off for that one, but I haven't had a chance to get out and find it, largely because I'm still getting used to the roads here. I've had contact from the PR team behind Masterbuilt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Masterbuilt is now kind of Masterbuilt, Kamado Joe, and Smoke Hollow are all kind of in the same company now. So they have a big PR firm, and they've been sending me corrections. They really want a very positive spin on everything, and while I think it's a good product, it's a good grill, it's still got kind of some of the Masterbuilt issues. There's some lightweightness to it. There's problems with some of the paint, and they're really emphatic about that it will hold a steady 150 cooking temperature, which I haven't been able to see. I mean, in the one unit I got to play with, I couldn't get it there, and a lot of people have kind of agreed with me that the atmospheric conditions have to be kind of ideal to get down to those temperatures before it'll kind of flame out. So I've been kind of politely not agreeing with what the PR people are saying at this point.
Do we care if it can really hold a 150 temperature before it snuffs itself out? I mean, I don't know a lot of people that are doing anything at that temperature unless, I mean, it's still a little too warm for a cold smoke, so why bother?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I kind of said that its bottom temperature, bottom stable temperature is closer to about 200 to 220. And I wouldn't make an issue of it if they didn't keep sending me emails saying they want to make an issue of
so
it. At that point, I started getting, okay.
Do you take it upon yourself? Do you take it upon yourself to say, hey, here's my biggest criticism. I think at 200 or 225, we have no issues, and then going up. But why are you continuing to harbor on 150 when you have an issue? Let's get off of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, when I've talked about the product before, I said, well, it's kind of some lightweight bit. There's some packaging issues. It's kind of flimsy in certain parts. They're not taking any issue with that. To kind of say it's got some cheap build to it. Some of the parts are not, as strong as they should be, or the metal is not as great as it should be. They're not going to argue that point. But the 150 cooking temperature, that's something that they really want to. So I think it's just kind of funny. So I'll just continue to play with them on that one for as long as they want to go.
All right. Derek Riches from DerekRiches.com joining me here on the show. By the way, you had just referenced it. We congratulate you on the trek from Salt Lake City, Utah to a barbecue mecca, Austin, Texas. Well, Texas, its own barbecue mecca, but of course, Austin, a super hyper mecca because of all the great barbecue that's down there. How was that move? And you did it in the midst of coronavirus. Not planned, by the way. It just so happens you were that lucky.
No, yeah. We had sold our house before this whole thing came up, and we had some time to kind of plan the move. And then all this happened, and like every plan we had fell apart. And we had to kind of reorganize the entire move, getting everything here. And then, it's like, oh, great. I just landed in Austin, Texas, and everything's closed.
Yeah.
So, it's fun.
Is the move for work? Like, did you, being a barbecue guy, is it better for you to be there, or you just wanted to change out of Salt Lake and go to Austin and deal with bad traffic, or what?
Yeah. Well, we my wife and I, we've talked about moving for well over a year, and we spent a lot of time kind of like, where do we go? And we kind of settled on saying, Austin would be really cool. It'd be a lot of fun to move to Austin. So that's all there is to it. There's, it's not like, moving here because I have a job here. It does facilitate kind of being involved in the barbecue community a little bit better. Puts me a little more centrally located to things, and I can get out and do more road trips when things are open.
Do I smell any team barbecue journalism with you and Daniel Vaughn, or are you more lone wolfy?
Yeah, I haven't spoken to Daniel, so I thought it's like, great. Well, when I get down here, I'll contact him, make some plans. We'll go out somewhere. We'll hit some barbecue joints,
sure.
Maybe, see if he's interested. So, I'm kind of planning on that in the next little while here as things start to open up again. But I don't know that, I don't think Daniel knows I'm here. So,
well, I bet he does now.
Popping on him.
No doubt. He's a big fan of the show, so I'm sure he's widely aware now. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about cooker-wise.
Daniel.
Yeah, call Derek, Daniel. Come on. I mean, quit sandbagging. Let's go. Have you heard any rumors about Pit Barrel making a somewhere in the neighborhood of 50-gallon drum model versus the 30 that they have currently, and then a smaller Pit Barrel Junior?
Yeah, they got the Junior out. It's a 55-gallon Pit Barrel. It's been designed for competition. And I talked with Amber about it a couple of months ago, and I haven't talked to Noah about it. Supposedly May, June-ish was the last I had heard on its availability, but I haven't had a chance to check back and kind of firm that up. I haven't seen that anything's being said about it yet, but it looks interesting. I mean, it's an interesting idea. See how that does on kind of the competition circuit. I think there's it certainly could get some good press that way.
Derek Riches from DerekRiches.com joining me here on the show. Derek, let's talk about a item that I just seen on the news here over the last 36 hours, which is a forecasted meat shortage that is predicted to hit by the week's end. What do you know about it, and are you at all worried about that?
Well, this is changing very rapidly. We now have word that an executive order should come from the White House tonight or tomorrow, basically stating that the meat processing facilities will be considered vital to American trade, and it will kind of eliminate liability issues from the meat packers should their employees get sick while working. So that's kind of weird that way. But the idea is to try and force these companies to reopen the facilities. I don't know how that works. I don't know how you can go to Tyson and say, yeah, a lot of the employees at this facility got sick. You have been asked to make a lot of changes to the way you operate. But you have to open now. And I don't know how that's going to work out. This is being sent specifically at Tyson and Smithfield and some of the big, meat processing facilities. So I don't know how that's going to go. I know that, they've been in the process of trying to get the staff in place. They've had to bring in new people to work in these facilities because they have a large group of people who are kind of out sick for extended periods of time, as well as make the changes that USDA wanted and OSHA wanted from them. So, at this point, I think pork production is down 25% because of the processing. Chicken is down about 10%. Chicken and beef are down about 10% at this point. Those facilities should be up and running in a couple of weeks, but now the problem of it is it's literally headline news everywhere. I mean, it's all over the media, and that means people are out buying meat. And I've been looking at forums on Facebook and stuff like that, and people are like, yeah, I put in a $400 order at Sam's Club. I'm picking it up in the morning. And I was talking with a guy I know who is in, works in online retail selling appliances. And he says that there's been a spike in people buying deep freezes in the last day. And it's like, okay, great. So people are planning to hoard meat.
Yeah, meat is going to be the new toilet paper, right?
Yeah, it's what I'm afraid of. I mean, the truth of the matter is that the livestock are there, getting them to slaughterhouses, getting it processed, getting it to stores. That's where the problem is. And since there's that tie-up right now, there's a lot of livestock just kind of sitting, waiting, and they're going to start culling that because they simply don't have the feed to kind of keep that stock in place. So, and another thing, I was looking through some forums and was talking with some people in a number of barbecue joints down this way, and they're already talking about the fact that they're hearing prices going up. So that, the governor of Texas has said, you can start opening up your restaurants under a limited basis. Right. And now they're being told by their suppliers that their prices are shooting up.
So not only can you not have as many people in, we're going to also raise your meat costs and tell you can't have as many people in as you once were able to.
Yeah, I mean, how, we're going to have 2 weeks down here of 25% restaurant capacity, and I don't know how you run a restaurant when you're limited to a quarter of your customer base. I mean, you lose money on that. So anyway, and if prices are going to go up, you're really kind of getting the short end of the stick there.
Do you have any thoughts on how you think this will work out here over the next handful of weeks? Do you think that at all? I have read some of this on the internet, and I believe about nothing on the internet, but I've seen a handful of folks post that technically this is really just a conspiracy by the meat producers or the meat processors in a way to jam everybody up so they can get more money.
Well, there's certainly something to be said for that, because basically, some of these huge corporations are basically coming back and saying, oh, well, we don't have the capacity to process the meat right now, so there's going to be, huge shortages and prices are going to skyrocket. And it's like, if prices skyrocket, you're making so much more money. It's like, why are you pretending to be upset by this? And, it's not like, it's like the oil companies coming back and going, boy, the price of gas just shot through the roof. That's awful, isn't it?
No doubt.
It's like, no, not for you. It isn't. Everyone else it is. So I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of hoping that, some more of this comes to light, but, literally the last 2 months, you have to wake up to a new world every day as it is. And this is just another new thing.
We'll keep track of it, of course. Make sure you're reading Derek Rich's stuff at DerekRiches.com. Always posting great items. Follow him on social media as well. Derek, always appreciate the time, and we will look for you again next month.
Yeah, thank you. See you in a month.
You got it. There he is, Derek Riches from DerekRiches.com. Man, that is a thing, right? Remember, here's the best part of the meat shortage that we're going to be coming into, maybe, if you're not a conspiracy theorist. Technically, we didn't even need toilet paper either, but trust me, I don't mean what I'm about to say in any other way than in a very realistic sense. We don't need meat. There's plenty of other things to eat. Fish. Pasta, berries on your head, plenty of other stuff, salad. We can make it through this point, just like we could have made it through without buying 8 cases of toilet paper when you go to the store. Don't get jammed up on meat prices because the processors are either trying to jam us up, or there really is going to be a shortage and prices are just going to jack up because supply will not be nearly as good as demand. The prices are going to go up. When the demand is there, prices will go up. You don't need it to survive. All right, we're back to wrap the first hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant at home, you're in luck because Fireboard fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232 for more info. We thank Derek Riches again for joining us and talking about what's happening in the world of the news and live fire. Just give me 1 second. That's a little better. You can find Derek on the 4th Tuesday of the month, 9:35 segment. What about you guys in the chat room, Facebook too? You guys worried about the impending meat shortage that is going to be showing up by the end of this week, potentially? I put in my call to Kevin Green over at the butcher shop in Pensacola, Florida. I said, send me half a ton of your finest prime beef. He's like, we'll get the reefer truck loaded up and ship it your way. Not really. But I would make the call if I thought it would benefit. It's not going to benefit. All right, we are wrapping the first hour. We thank, again, Jess Pryles, hardcorecarnivore.com. Make sure you're checking her out this coming Saturday, and you can cook along with her, and that's fun. Just go to YouTube and make sure that you're signed up for her new shot. Get the reminders and the subscribe while you're there. Make carne asada tacos, drink margaritas. Should be fun. I'll be there hanging out. We'll be right back. Stick around.